Hello, am I live? Okay, it says I'm live. I want to go ahead and check. I'm going to go ahead and check and make sure everything's working. Let people sign on. Hope you can see me okay. All right. I had some issues logging on today with Facebook Live. I don't know if that's okay. Yay. All right, it looks like I'm live. Okay, I'm good. All righty. I'm so excited. Okay, we have people signing on. That makes me so pumped. Let me go ahead as well and go ahead and put it's not going live from the event, but that's okay, right? So let me go ahead and get this. I need to make sure that everyone knows I'm live. I need to throw on a link here so you can follow along with what I'm talking about today. I'm so jazzed about this. Yay, we've got 4 people. Please say hello if you're joining. My goal is to get as many people from around the world as possible. I love to see how far away I can get people tuning in. Oh, I'm already tongue-tied. Okay. All right. We are ready to go. Oh, ma'am, don't start with me. My cat always loves to join, right? Did that go through? Let me see. Thanks for your patience as I get started. I had lots of technical difficulties today, but today's going to be such a great training. I can't wait to get started. It's going to be unreal. I'm so pumped. Oh my word. Everything today is just like, it's just feeling like messing me up, but that's okay. All right, I'm so excited for this first day of the Quantum Shift Workshop. That's what this is all about today. Yay! We have Mel tuning in from France. She says, happy full moon. Yes, the Pisces full moon just happened. I'm so excited. So anything that was going on in March earlier this year, you're probably feeling similar energy to then. So yes, I want to see how many people we can get from around the world. My goal is to one day get 6 of the 7 continents. That would be so amazing. I would die. I don't think anyone's tuning in from Antarctica, but a girl can dream, right? So tell me who you are. Tell me where you're from, what you do, and why I should love you. I'm tuning in from Tallahassee. It's the capital of the state of Florida. Unfortunately, it is not far enough north for the leaves to really be changing, which bums me out because autumn is my favorite season. But you can bet that I am still slurping down all my pumpkin spice drinks, running up a tab at Starbucks if they allowed me to have a tab, I would be in trouble. Yes, I want to know who's here. Okay. So please comments, tell me that you're tuning in. It makes me so happy. I see that we've got Brooke tuning in. Oh, and she says that she loves my eye look. Thank you. I did my makeup so fast right before this. I'm supposed to have my glasses on, but they have been missing since Friday. So I haven't driven anywhere. I've been at home this whole time. Jamie's tuning in. Hello, Jamie. We've got Rachel from Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Oh, delicious. I'm jealous. So while we're waiting for more people to sign on, tell me what you're most excited about today. I know the topic is manifesting 10K this week, but let's get specific. Tell me anything that you have questions on to begin with. If you want to tell me what kind of businesses you have, all of this allows me to tailor the content for you, which then makes this a better experience, right? Because I'm not here to just talk at you. I want this to be something where you can really take away a really good understanding, some practical stuff you can put into practice now. That's my entire goal. So why did you show up today? What was your big motivator? What was your inspiration? What was it about this event that made you say, oh my God, I need it, right? So I'm so excited. I'm going to be talking about what I've been saying, which is making 10K in a week, like literally from today. And this is not unheard of. I've made $11,000 in a single day before. I've had clients make, I think the record right now is like 22,000 in a week. So you can absolutely do this too. This, I know these sound like really big, crazy numbers, but you can absolutely do this. Like it's totally within reason, it's within possibility. And I'm going to explain all of this because it sounds like a really massive task to take on, but really at the end of the day, it's about creating the space and the structure necessary that allows us to make this huge jump. So it's not just about discussing how to think. Okay. Like I know a lot of like manifestation programs really focus on the mindset aspect of things, and we are going to cover a little bit of mindset, but we're talking about several different aspects of manifestation today and like brain hacking. So this includes the science on how all of this works. So we're literally going to talk about quantum physics and neuroscience and things like that. And I'm going to cover like the different aspects of your brain that we need to be working with. So brain hacking, it's not just about the way that we consciously think, it's about what we believe to be true. Okay. And those are like slightly different things. Ooh, we've got some comments here. Mel says that she is interested in the magical and shifting energies. Yes, we're going to talk about that. Jamie says how to rev your business back up when you've been out of the game for quite a while. I have been there so many times. It's unreal. We will talk about that today. And then Tanya says, I joined because you're a great coach. Oh, I feel like I'm on the cusp as a manifesting generator. I am waiting to respond, but I know I'm here. Yes. And I want to know how many of you have felt that before. Like you're like, I know I'm incredible and I feel like I should be making a lot more money than I am. And it almost feels like it's around you, but it's like in a different dimension or something. Like you can't see it, but you can feel it's there. Like how many people have had that before? I absolutely have. And that's what we're talking about too today. So, and Aya says, my biggest struggle at the moment is believing I will get money in and not believing in myself. It's like a loop. I don't feel powerful, and then working sucks when I don't think and have confidence in my work. Yes. Oh my God. All of us have been there. Absolutely. And I call it, it's like a really difficult cycle to be in basically, because you need to like choose to have better beliefs in order to take the action that allows you to get the proof that gives you the better beliefs. So we're going to talk about, that's exactly what I'm talking about when I say brain hacking. And it's not just what we consciously think. And Janet agrees. She said, yes, that's me. So close. She feels so close to that money that's right around us. So basically what we really need to do is we need to understand all different aspects of manifestation, because the realer it feels to manifest, the faster our manifestations can appear. So even a jump like from no money to $10,000 in a week, it is possible, but you really have to understand what that's like all about. So it's also necessary for us to cover this so that way when we move into tomorrow's workshop, all about jumping timelines, and day 3, which is about like spell work, both the intro stuff and like zhuzhing up your spell work. We need to move there with this full understanding of manifestation, and all the parts of our brain want to be on the same page working together. We've got a few more comments here. Rachel says, I joined because I've been transitioning from a VA to an OBM, but I can't break through to more money. We're going to talk about all this shit today. I love it. And then Aya said, I joined because I've left and come back. I don't want to go back to a 9-to-5, but I have no money. I just want to have confidence in myself, and I see your magic. Thank you. It is a horrible cycle, and choosing to get the better belief is just, I want to do it, but it feels impossible. And that's the key. And I would bet that Jamie, who is saying that she's been away from her business for a while and now is jumping into it, she understands what you're talking about too. Any time that you've been in a rut for a long time, like we really feel that energy. It feels impossible to go from 0 to 10K, right? So we're going to like really talk about how we can hack our minds to believe it as if it's absolutely 100% totally real. Now, before we really jump into it and get started, I want to remind everyone that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So if you're going to start manifesting everything you want, the dream clients, soulmates, dream apartments or houses, you need to show up in all areas of your life. And that includes this 3-day workshop on Facebook. Like, it sounds like it's a silly thing, but like, I pack a lot into these classes. It's literally something you're going to want to take notes during. So I want you to make sure that you are engaging just like you have been. Comment, ask questions. Even if I don't answer them in the moment, I'll get to them at the end. So that's how you're going to get the really good gold nuggets out of this live, is when you engage, because then I get to tailor the content for your specific needs and problems. And speaking of, if you hear something that feels like a totally mind-blowing moment, I want you to use the hashtag gold nugget. So that way, those who are watching it now or later, they can see these aha moments that we're having, and they can see the timestamp so they know when to pay attention. And of course, if you're watching the replay, use the hashtag replay. It'll ping me so I can come back and ask questions while you're going through this. So now that we got all of the instructions behind us, who am I? Because I know I have a ton of new members in here, and you guys might not be fully acquainted with me yet. My name is Jessie De Silva. I am an intuitive business consultant and money mindset coach. I'm known online as the Millennial Money Witch, and that was a name given to me by Forbes. And that was based on my unique coaching formula that's based on the 3 principles of magic, which I'm covering this week. It's what I teach my clients. It's everything. So Aya says, will you keep this up? I'm on my first day of my cycle and exhausted. Yes, I will. I'm at the end of my cycle, so I'm with you. I did nothing this weekend except lay on my couch. So my 3 principles of magic, and these are not just what it takes to make a spell work, it's what it takes to manifest anything. And it's the same thing that it takes to make any kind of business strategy work as well. It's just like a universal formula. And the way I describe it is align your intentions, embody them deeply, and take inspired action daily. That's it. That's the magic formula. And these are the principles that I used to change my life and that my clients are using to change their lives. So I went from being somebody who lived in constant anxiety, because, you know, in the beginning of entrepreneurship, it's up and down with your income. And I went from being somebody whose self-worth was really tailored to that roller coaster ride of income as I was finding my footing, to the point where it's like, you know, if I were to run out of money today, like I wouldn't even feel a difference. And I mean that genuinely, because I feel so cared for. And to be totally honest, I don't have a ton of funds right now because I took a couple months off to really focus on my mental health. So I still feel just as self-assured as if I were to have 100 grand in the bank, because of the work that I've been doing, because of this formula that I've followed. So I went from being somebody who lived in this constant state of anxiety. Even when I was making money, I was always like, but I need more to feel safe. And I went from that, from feeling overextended, living in like a really expensive city, to now I live in like a beautiful, somewhat rural area of Florida. It's in a pretty small college town, but I love it. I'm so close to nature. I've got these beautiful trees and walking trails right outside my window. I love it. Yeah, the constant anxiety is so real. So I went from that to like this now pretty peaceful life. I also went from being a place where like my rent checks were bouncing to like literally having $14,000 cash launches and like things like an $11,000 cash day, which that is an actual thing that happened to me in April. So I also went from being like a binge eater and an orthorexic. Those who don't know what that is, it's like an obsession with dieting, exercise, like health under the guise of health. And I was desperately self-conscious over this beautiful body. And I went from that to being somebody who's now comfortable being 50 pounds heavier. Like I've gained 50 or 60 pounds. I don't weigh myself anymore because I don't. And I actually feel better now. I have a better relationship with food and exercise than I ever have in my life. And I actually love how I look, even though it's not what I would have in the past considered to be ideal for myself. I've just like learned to live in this body and appreciate it for what it is. So along the way, I've connected with these $11,000 cash days. I've had free photo shoots. I've had articles in Yahoo Finance and Forbes. I've had countless podcast appearances, and I've even had like free luxury travel happen. So I've had like a free stay in a presidential suite at a luxury resort. I've had first class upgrades. I was never somebody who got those before, and now here I am, and more fun and joy than I ever have so far. Yeah, the binging, it's real. So on that note, now that you know me, now that you know a little bit about my background, let's get into it. We're getting into the training now. So whip out your pens and pencils. You're going to cry, Aya. No, you're going to be fine. You're going to feel safe. Like, we're going to talk about all of that today. So I want to talk about what I teach in terms of manifestation. And it's really not in the terms of conscious manifestation in the way that a lot of us have been taught or have thought about it in the past. We're not going to sit here in this class. We're not going to sit here and write lists and meditate until we feel fully healed and get to a higher plane of existence. I got really sick of that narrative for a while, because you don't need to be fully healed in order to manifest. You can have a fucked up life. You can have things that you still are working on, and you can still continually manifest. Like, I find, especially with spiritual entrepreneurs, the question was always like, what do I need to heal next? What do I need to unblock next? And the truth is that if you've been doing inner work, if you've been engaged in a spiritual practice, a lot of times you don't need to do anything. You just need to shift. You just need to shift how you view everything. And that's as simple as that. You're not blocked. You're not like fucked up. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You can start manifesting right now. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to gain an understanding first of how the science works behind manifesting, and how it supports us in achieving whatever it is that we want to receive. Part of that is understanding how our brain works. So that way we can literally use the processes that are already happening to empower ourselves and solidify that sense of self-worth. I left my water. I'm really, really wanting it now. That's okay. So to start, we're going to do a little refresher from science class, okay? At some point, likely in elementary school or middle school, you learned that everything in the world is made up of atoms, and that's ATOMS, not atoms as in ADAM. So everything in the world is made up of atoms. Ourselves, our bodies, this desk that I'm at, the air, everything is made up of atoms. And what they are is they're just like these, like, we can't even see it. We can't see them, but they're these little pieces of matter that just vibrate. And like what determines whether something is a solid, liquid, or gas is the concentration of those molecules, right? And they're just vibrating and bumping up against next to each other. So when we're talking about like physical things, like this desk I'm talking to you from, my physical body, like that, those are denser materials. So the atoms, there are more atoms and they're closer to each other and they're vibrating and bumping up against each other. And like that's what they are, versus a gas where, you know, like steam, if you see steam, it's obviously you can't touch steam. There's not really like, it doesn't really have like any kind of texture. And, you know, you still have atoms, but they're more spread out and they're like bouncing around and vibrating on a much grander scale, right? Just as far as area goes. So the frequency at which they vibrate, that's what determines whether they're a solid, liquid, or gas. And what our senses, our six senses or five senses, well, no, I would say six as well. So what our, like, let's say like our eyes, ears, sense of touch, what we pick up on is exactly that. It's that vibration. So the reason why this tabletop, I can feel it, the reason I can see it is because of those vibrations, right? Everything forms waves, which is why we talk about light and sound in the terms of wavelengths, right? And you can literally see how this works if you look at videos of cryomatics, and that's like cries and cry, o-matics. that's the scientific practice where they like show you the patterns that are created by sound waves. They put like sand on a plate and then they strum like a violin, like one of those violin bows. They strum it against the plate, and as it vibrates at different levels, it creates these beautiful patterns in the sand. Michelle says I'm so good at this. Thank you. So you can see it in the practice of cryomatics. You can even see it in like singing bowls, where it's a lot of people, sometimes people put water in these singing bowls, and as the sound changes to different levels, different vibrations, the water forms a pattern. And so you can see how this works. So then take it to the next step. If our bodies are made of like 80% water, then it's easy for us to understand that sound, light, vibrations of items can influence us, right? Like who's ever been around, like who's ever been in a room and felt someone staring at you or checking you out and you turned over and they look away, right? Like how many of us have been there? If you've experienced that, that's actually another person emitting those vibrations and those wavelengths toward you. Because the thing is that as these atoms all vibrate, they create electricity. Literally, our bodies are made up of electricity. When we talk about like our brain sending signals all over our body, like when you stub your toe, yes, you experience it in your foot, but you only experience it in your foot because your brain has processed it. So that pain goes the entire way up to your head and then way back down to your foot, like within milliseconds. And so we have this electric current that radiates off of our bodies. And so we're able to direct it to each other, right? So like this current, like this ability, that's what creates collective consciousness. It's why like we all have that natural sixth sense. We all have psychic abilities. And it's because we're just able to tap into this collective consciousness, which is almost like an electric current that you can't see that connects all people. Okay. So I realize this is like wild stuff, but you have to understand it because it changes your view of everything. So it's why it's where this like old riddle comes from. And I think everybody's heard it before. If you haven't, this will be your first time, but like raise your hand if you've ever heard the riddle, like if a tree falls in the woods and no one hears it, does it make a sound? Like that really challenged me when I was a kid. I was like, well, yeah, but like my initial instinct whenever I used to hear that riddle was that like, of course it makes a sound because the sound waves are still occurring. But once I understood like how reality like really happens, like the fact that this desk or sounds or music only happen because we perceive it, because it's our interaction that allows reality to be created, right? So when you think about that riddle, you want to think like, well, yeah, the waves are still produced. So, but if there's nobody there, no microphone, no person, no animal to experience a sound wave, then does the sound wave really exist? And now I would say no. Because if no sound is created, if no creature or microphone is there to pick it up, then the effect of the sound is null. It doesn't matter whether it exists or not. So really what you can say is that reality only exists because of our subconscious, or because of our, not objective, subjective. So reality creates reality. It's the experience of reality that allows reality to occur. It's only our experience of these vibrations, of this electricity, that's what allows them to come to life. So reality only exists in relation to our ability to live in it. That means it's all creative from the subjective experience that we live through. So that sound, like whether there's a sound, like if a tree falls in the forest and there are no ears, no eyes, no sense of touch, if there's nothing there to experience, that sound doesn't exist. Okay. And so I will explain this similarly, right? In the sense that subjective experience is literally what creates reality. And you can think of it like this. If you've ever had a nightmare that terrified you, like you woke up like sweating or panting, if you've ever experienced a nightmare like that, you know that that experience is almost just as scary as watching a horror movie or like living a scary experience. They feel the same in the body. It's all about the subjective experience of reality. So the genesis of what's around us, of what we perceive, of what reality is not in the physical. It's actually inside our minds. It's actually inside our brains. So if reality starts with our subjective experience, then the first step to aligning yourself to make $10,000 is not just to know that that $10,000 exists, that there can be $10,000 in your bank account, but it's to experience it. It's to understand that if you can imagine it in a way that feels real, then that's a first step in creating it. But remember, this isn't just a class that's about like the practical. That's not just about this esoteric scientific understanding of manifestation. It's also about the practical. So this is where we need to turn and look at how have we created containers for receiving? Because although, yes, it's possible that like some distant relative could have died and given you $10,000, or, you know, you could find out that you had some kind of old bank account that accrued a ton of interest and they paid it to you like that's, I mean, those are definitely within the realms of possibility. We also want to look, because this is 5-figure launch queens, we're looking at like our portals in which we can receive this. So you need to look at your income funnels to determine whether you've created a channel for those kind of funds for $10,000 to meet you, and whether you have the capacity to receive it. So this is almost like, you have to think about it like if like the universe is ready to serve you some soup or some rice or something where you need a bowl, right? And if you don't have a bowl, if you go with your hands, you're not going to be able to hold any soup, or you can hold some, but it's going to spill through your fingers. If you have a small bowl, you can only hold a small amount of soup. But if you want, so we want to look at like, how have we created our lives and our businesses to be a nice, big, sturdy bowl to have as much as we want, right? And so that's where you need to look at whether you've created a container to receive. So let's say that you have a store and you sell goods in the range of like $5 to $20 a piece. Maybe it's like candles or something. And someone has decided that they want to put in an order for them to be wedding favors, right? Do you have the ability or the capacity to meet that demand? So if somebody were to order like 100 candles from you for at $20 a piece, so you're looking at like $2,000. Do you have the ability to make that many candles under that kind of contract, under that time demand, right? That's how we look at our structure. Have you created the structure to meet that kind of demand? What if you had if you could hit $2,000 with like 100 candle orders, do you have the capacity to receive multiple of those kind of orders, right? So if you're now let's say you're a coach, right? You're a coach or you're a service provider. How are you pricing your offers, and how are you pricing your hourly rates? So if all you offer are readings for like $100, then for you to hit $10,000, you're going to have to sell literally like 100 readings to get to that point, okay? To get $10,000. And if you don't feel capable of doing that, if that doesn't feel fun for you to have 100 readings over the next 90 days in order to get $10,000 this week, then you don't have the type of container that you need. Instead, you need to be looking at because you can hit $10,000 multiple ways. And I always say, you get to $10,000 $1 at a time. But I'm asking you, Is it going to be easier to hit $10,000 by signing 2 people into a package that costs $5,000 a piece? Or is it going to be easier to sell 100 people on 1-hour readings? Do you see what I'm saying here? We've got some comments. I want to make sure that we're getting it. So Aya says, nope, I don't even have the capacity to receive $100 at the moment. Well, I know you offer readings, Aya, so you do have the capacity to receive it. But that's what I'm talking about with the structure, looking at how your business is structured. Mel says, I've been feeling more abundant and supported recently, and I've just learned yesterday that the government is going to give me 1,360 euro to invest in any training I want. Look at that. I mean, like, she has the capacity. She has a business. She had a business that allowed her to qualify for this. So that's a good example of having the bowl that allows you to receive. It gives you the structure and it gives you the channels in order for the universe to send you money. And then Aya follows up and says, it's true. LOL, gosh, no. So that's what I'm talking about. We need to look at the practical steps of this. I don't think I have the faith to receive anything, not that I can't. Well, that's why we need to talk about what I'm going to bring up next, which is the mindset aspect of this. So I want you to think about, like, the way we get our mindset on board is that it's less about a way of thinking, and it's more about a way of living that brings every aspect of your life to the level that you want it to be. Because the truth of the matter is that it's all connected. So you can't build your business in a vacuum. And what I mean by that is that everything in your life matters. So if your relationship or your love life is in shambles, and that's okay, because a lot of people are. I'm not here to say that you need to heal that. But if you make it mean that you're like a piece of shit who's not lovable, that's going to show up mirrored in your customers or clients, right? Like, so if you think you're unlovable, if you think like, well, nobody wants to date me, therefore I'm undateable, then you're going to manifest customers and clients who mirror that kind of dynamic. If you feel like shit about your body, if you think like, well, I'm 60 pounds heavier than I normally am because of the pandemic and depression and whatever, and you make that mean that I'm not deserving, I can't show up until I'm back to what I believe to be like a good weight, then that's going to show up in how you appear online for your business. And chances are it means that you don't want to show up at all. Okay? And if you struggle with resting or taking breaks, that shows up in your income because you're not in trust. You believe that the answers lie in do, rather than in your worthiness and your ability to feel in line with what you're asking for. So how do we do that? How do we shift our brains to get more into alignment with making that $10,000? Because we've talked about the practical things, how we open up portals that the universe can then send us, channel that money to us. So how do we get our brains on board? And, there are as many manifestation methods out there as there are, buttholes, honestly. Ooh, here we go. Aya says, I make me feeling depressed or heavy mean I can't show up in my business properly. And I completely understand, because I'm somebody who has anxiety and depression. And I had to learn that even when I'm depressed, I'm worthy. And that I don't need to show up every moment to be worthy. That $11,000 cash day that I talk about all the time came after I took a month off from my business. And when I say that, I mean, like, I truly did not post to social media whatsoever, other than the automated posts I would put in this group. I did not post for a straight month. And the 2 people who found me because they found me like through things I can't recreate. One of them found me through a YouTube spiral where she was watching videos and interviews and just clicking on, the you may like or related kind of stuff. And she wound up on an interview I did with my coach. And she just like knew. She found me and she was like, that's her. And she found me, connected with me. And at the same time, somebody found me just writing comments in a podcast collaboration group where I was just pitching myself as a speaker. And that person like, went on a deep dive about me. And when I got on a call, she literally paid me in full on that call. So that's 2 people who did that in 24 hours. And I can't replicate that strategy. And the shift, the way that the difference between that kind of depression, but like that kind of like rest period is that I recognized I needed rest to be my best self versus me resting and saying I'm a piece of shit for resting because I'm depressed. And then Aya also says, or deliver the actual transformation and enjoying it. I can take breaks, but then I worry 24/7 about money. Yep. And that's what we're talking about today. So sometimes we get so dialed in to what we think that manifestation needs to look like or not look like that we miss what works with us specifically. Because like we're always manifesting. And when you're not consciously practicing or doing anything, you're really just trying the do nothing method, right? Like that's still a manifestation method. It just may not be the one that works for you. So lucky for you, I'm a dabbler. I'm a course junkie. I've read like a bajillion books. Like I've studied all of these things. And I know a lot about when it comes to this stuff. And what I find works best for everyone is really clearing up like how you set these intentions and how you get your mindset on board with them. So if we're sitting here thinking, I want to make $10,000 this week, when you're charging high ticket, those numbers aren't insurmountable. Like $10,000 becomes more believable when you not only charge high ticket, but when you pay people high ticket, because that's the thing. And I'm not saying this is like a quid pro quo thing. I'm not saying you need to like go out and invest 5K in order to receive 10K, because that's not really living in trust. That's you trying to like game the system. Like, look, universe, I'm doing the things. It's about living in trust where it's like, if you were to invest in a program, you need to invest from a place of, I don't care if I never make my investment back, because I know that's the gap in my knowledge. And I know that like, this is what I need. And I wouldn't care if I never made the money back. Yes, Aya says she's already challenging her thoughts. That makes me so happy. But the problem is, and I know a lot of people are going to understand when I relate to this, is that if you haven't made that kind of money before, if you've never made $10,000 in a week, it's hard for your brain to feel like it's yours. It's hard for you to believe that you can have it when all you've ever made is $500 or you haven't made anything at all, right? It's the same thing with like being upgraded to first class. If you've never flown in first class, then how are you able to like imagine and feel like it's real to actually get upgraded to first class? Like, why would they, right? Like, you don't expect to be in first class. So why would the airline expect for you to be in first class? So that's why part of this is going to be based in experience. And part of it is going to be based in how we use our brains. And this is the brain hacking method. So like a lot of people tell you that you need baby steps in between. Oh, you need to manifest 200, 500, then 1,000, then 3,000. But like, I'm not a baby steps person. I'm a quantum leap person. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing today. So the way you work around this is we have to get into the nitty gritty of why that like $10,000 in a week feels unattainable, and how we can really dial into the intention in a way that resonates with us. So the first thing we need to be doing is taking inventory of what could be getting in your way. So when you sit down and you think about, okay, I'm going to make $10,000 with this week. Ooh, Janet says I'm trying to play with 5K this week, then 5K next week. Makes my mind feel more doable. That's totally fine. And then if that works for you, Janet, that's beautiful. That's absolutely fine. And I'm still going to use the figure of 10K this week because it's like such a wild amount. And I really believe that people can do this. So the first thing I want you to do is when you think about whether it's 5,000 or 10,000 and like in a week, when you think about that big scary goal, I want you to immediately write down any excuses and fears that come up for why you can't have it. Because when you do that, like you're starting to bring the gunk to the surface. Okay. So like some of these may sound like, if I were going to make that much, I would have to generate so much content to get there. I'd have to message so many people. I'd have to write so many social media captions. I had to go live so much. Or it can sound like what I was saying earlier. Well, I've never made that much. I've never made above X amount of money. So maybe I'm just fooling myself into thinking I can really make this work. Or, when we get into these really bad ruts, it can sound like at this point, it doesn't even matter what I'm selling. All I know is that people won't buy it. I mean, how many of you guys have had these thoughts before? I know I have. These thoughts have literally, these examples are pulled from my past. These are actual things I've thought. So know that you're not alone. And what these are, these ideas, this is the shadow. The shadow is what I like to say. It's a thing that both tells you that you're a piece of shit and that it tells you that everyone's better than you, but it also tells you you're better than everyone else. And it's just all it's doing is it's trying to keep you from getting hurt and from dying. Honestly, your brain, your shadow, is literally here. Your brain is designed to keep you at homeostasis. And what homeostasis is that it's just keeping you safe. So you want to think about your brain as almost like an air conditioner. And so an the AC unit. So your brain is saying you know what, 74, perfect. I love room temperature. It's great. And if it starts to get too cold, so if you start to fail too much, your brain kicks on and says, whoa, 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 we're starting to fail too much. We need to kick up the heat and get back to 74. And then sometimes what happens is that you heat up so much, you keep going, keep going, keep going. I'm going to hit 90. And I apologize for anyone who's on the metric system, because I realize these numbers sound really high. So getting really hot. And so then when you start to get to a level of success, a lot of times your brain says, whoa, 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 that's way too hot. We got to stay at 74. Let's bring it back down. So why does our brain do this? Because staying in that juicy 74 room temperature place is the highest chance of survival. Your brain says, I don't know what kind of problems rich people have. I don't know how to deal with those problems. So I'm going to stay right here, even though I don't like this place. I'm going to stay here because I know how to handle these problems. That's literally what it is. Mel says, my excuse is that I'm going on vacation at the end of the week, so I'm not going to launch or advertise anything now. Let me bust that one for you. I always make money when I go on vacation. When I post about stuff and I'm on vacation, my energy behind it is just totally different. I don't feel the need for it because I'm out enjoying myself, and it comes so much faster. Janet says, yes, I've never written a single piece of content or gone live that made 5+ sales. I've done 1 to 2 maybe, but most of my posts are crickets. I always tell, this is just a quick aside for you, Janet. I always tell people that your clients don't comment. Your clients don't like or comment because they're busy. All right. If I had $1 for every time somebody said, I've been following you for months and I've always loved you, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't even need this business, honestly. So don't be discouraged by that. Keep posting. So anyway, that's your shadow. Your shadow is designed to keep you alive. And so we need to be thankful because our brains have gotten us to this point. All that self-sabotage, it's kept us alive. Okay. And as far as our brain is concerned, that's a successful coping system. So now we have to bring the shit out to the open, because we need the self-awareness that shows us exactly what we need to do first before we can call in what we want and deserve. And if nothing comes to mind when you think of the excuses, the fears, make them up, honestly, because the things that you make up are most likely going to be closer to the actual fear. Honestly, so just make it up. So I know the step isn't super fun, and it can feel pretty activating or maybe pointless, but this is because isn't manifesting all about fun and getting what you want? Yeah, it is. But when you don't take a moment to look at the ways you're getting in your own way, It's like setting on, like it's like going out on an 8-mile hike with like 20-pound rocks in your backpack. Like, can you get done? Yeah. Is it a lot easier to check and make sure there are no rocks in your backpack? Yeah, that's a lot easier. Ooh, Alicia says, not smart, creative, or consistent enough. People won't like my stuff or buy it. Makes me want to cry typing that out. Seems silly. I feel that way. It does seem silly, but the thing is that like it feels very real. Like the fact that you're typing it out and feeling like you want to cry means it's real. I mean, I had, before I even became a coach, before I started my business, I remember that my first time doing shadow work, the belief that came up for me was dreams are for other people, not for me. And I almost want to cry when I say that because it was such a devastating realization that I was functioning under an assumption like that. And it was so sad because I was such a cheerleader for everyone around me. And I would really, really like support others and help them. I would literally sit down with people and say, oh, your dream is this. Let's figure out how to make it happen for you. And I would do that with my friends and family all the time, but I wouldn't do it for myself because I had gotten this limiting belief growing up that dreams are for other people, not for me. And so I just needed to do the path of least resistance. I'm consistently posting and still, Jana, I think you got cut off there. Still what? So anyway, all I'm saying is that like these beliefs, like we have to bring them out in the open. That's part of it. And here's the thing is that like, yeah, can you sit here and like work on it, forever? Yeah, but you don't need to. We just need to know what's there. Because once you know it's there, you can speak to it. Yeah, consistently posting and still haven't cracked this. And, and actually, Janet, it's really funny because like I read all of your content and I love it. Like you're always in my timeline and I don't interact with your stuff. Oh, Jamie liked that one. Dreams are for other people, not for me. Helping others, but not yourself. # gold nugget. Yeah, dude, it's real. So the whole point why we got to list these things out is because we have to, I always say this is the first rule of manifestation. Forget what you think you know. Okay? Forget what you think you know because you think you have everything figured out because your brain created like an operating manual from the ages of 0 to 7 years old. We're in a theta state when we're children like that, which means that like the state of minds that we're in more often than not from those years are similar to the state that we get in now when we do like kind of meditative active activities. So think like when you drive a familiar route or you're driving on the highway for a long time, when you're watching TV or scrolling social media, that meditative state where you're still aware and you're still active, that's the state that you're in most of the time from those ages. And so your brain uses that time to create like its own operating system. And it's saying like, oh, dreams are for other people, not for me. So I can't like explore that, can't do that. Mom and dad will like disown me if I like go after my creative endeavors, can't do that. So what we have to do now by getting this shit out in the open is we're going to update the system. We're getting new software put in and we're going to get rid of the stuff that's not working as well anymore. So once you have this list, I want you to sit down and come up with at least 3 ways that these fears or excuses are not true or not always true. Okay? Because you can do 3, like you can do 3 at the least, but like the more the merrier, right? And if you can draw upon specific examples in your life, that's even more. That's like incredible. That's a creme de la creme because that's going to like be the best evidence against this. So for example, so if I have the excuse that like, oh, well, there are so many coaches who are similar to me and they do what I do and they're able to do what I do and I feel like I can't. But you know what? I struggle to argue with me personally, science, theory, philosophy, those things are really compelling to me. It's like I read a scientific article about how you can have straight hair all your life. And as you age, your hormones can change, or as you have babies, your hormones can change. And then all of a sudden you can have curly hair. If I read an article like that, oh, I accept it as fact immediately. Okay. Like I'm like, oh my God, that means it's possible for me. So, like, when I read a scientific study back in the day that rock climbing stimulated GHB production in the body, I fucking believed it. And guess what happened? I grew a whole fucking inch at 29 years old. Okay? A whole fucking inch. I was 5'1" from the ages of 14 to 29. And then at 29, I grew to 5'2", my friends. I'm still very short, but I'm very proud of that 1 inch. Okay? So it's the same thing around energetics and like astrological influences, religion, mindset practices, Newton's like 3 laws of physics, all of that. All of that works for me. So you need to list out what works for you. So sometimes that's like the scientific stuff, sometimes that's examples, right? So that's the stuff that makes me believe. So whatever you find convincing or disproving, that may be different from mine. You might feel better when you know somebody who's done it before, or if you've had friends who have done things before. Personally, that just made me feel like, oh, well, of course they can do it because they're a beautiful unicorn and I'm just like a big lump of poop. So I can't do it, So I had to see, like, I didn't want to necessarily see that, like if, if I'm investing in a course, like, I don't necessarily, I'm not, like, I don't buy into client results. Testimonials don't get to me. What gets to me is the method. If the science makes sense to me, if the formula makes sense to me, I'm in. That's it. But the point of this is that we're all different. So once you have your list of proof for your beliefs, now you got to dig a little bit deeper on the fears. So all of the fears that we list usually have a pretty normal, mundane human need behind them. And this is where we get into the ego. So I say that the ego is really like your inner child. So you want to think about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So like that pyramid where at the bottom it's like food, shelter, water. Next one's like community and like acceptance. And the top is self-actualization, whatever, right? So a lot of times these fears are what's underscoring them is a really human need. So if you're sitting here saying, oh, I'm going to have to generate so much content to like get to these points, to get to the point of making $10,000 this week, well, is it possible that you're not afraid of having enough time to sleep or time to rest, time to connect with others, time to cook? What is it about this need that feels threatening? And if you're in this place of like, well, I haven't made above X amount of months, or I haven't worked for months, maybe I'm just fooling myself into thinking I can make this work for myself. Is it possible that your need for money is taking away from your human need for self-fulfillment and expression? Are you worried that you won't be able to pay rent? Are you afraid of how you're going to feed yourself this week, right? Like, if these are the fears that are coming up, address these fucking fears, right? Like, let's get to what's hiding underneath them. And then finally, like, if it, like with the fear of like, well, it doesn't matter what I'm selling, all I know is that people are not going to buy it. Do you need to be appreciated, seen, or loved? Do you need reassurance? Are you feeling emotions? Do you need a good cry? Do you need to scream? Go get these needs met. Get these needs met. Like, get these needs met so that fear doesn't really have any weight anymore. So like, say you're afraid that you're not going to be able to buy groceries this month, like this week or something. Go look in your pantry and look in your fridge. What can you cobble together from what you already have? Because if you can basically alleviate the feeling of like, you know what, like, I don't actually like, you know what, I could probably make it another week without groceries. Or say like, I mean, if you've ever like gone to a parent's house or a friend's house, like, and just been like, hey, can I have, do you have anything that you don't, that like is taking up space in your house? Can I have it? Like, can I have any of your stuff? Or like, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. A lot of times you just need to take the pressure off of these fears and off of these needs, right? Your inner child is just in their car seat in the back screaming. And sometimes we just need to turn around and give him a lollipop and be like, you're okay. All right, here's your baba. We're going to keep going. We don't pull the car over every time. So, and you'll know that you've hit the right underlying human need when you have a sense of relief. Like, oh, yes, if I had that, I would feel so much better about going after that goal. That's what this is about. Janet says, Mel says, I'll try. I'm 4'11". Oh, you're a shorty like me. Janet says, so true. I can't live vicariously. I need my own experience. So having examples from others doesn't do it for me much. I'm the same way. Because I see everybody as like being so wonderful and unique, and I have a tendency to dump on myself. So Janet, you need to go back and look at every lived experience you've been through that disproves all of those fears and beliefs. So anyway, when we meet those underlying needs, what happens is that the fears start to melt away and we're able to actually move forward. So now we've got our shadow and our human on board, and you may think your job is done, but it is not, because we need to look at how our highest self gets in the way. And that might sound bizarre to you. Like, why would my highest self be getting in the way of me making money? Except I want you to think about it like this. So many spiritual entrepreneurs, we know on some level our highest self is like, money isn't real. Life is a hologram. This is all an illusion. We're in the matrix. Okay. Like, we know that. That's where our highest self is. And like, that's wonderful. I'm so so grateful for that perspective. But if our highest self thinks that money doesn't matter, then why would it want money? Then why would it get on board with manifesting money? Because your highest self is like, well, the universe provides. The universe provides. So why do I need money? I don't. As long as I'm cared for, even if I pay my rent late, my rent's getting paid. Even if I maybe you're like actually in a juicy place where it's like you've been making like enough to cover your bills for a few months. So if you've just been able to cover your bills, why does your highest self need more than that? Your highest self says, well, the bills are covered. Why do I need $10,000 a month? Because I'm perfectly capable of covering everything with 5, with 3. So I'm good. That's why we need to reconnect with our purpose. We can only bring the clients in when we reconnect with like our soul's purpose. And I don't want to hear, I want money for my kids' education, or I want to live in comfort and luxury. No, that's not it. Okay. That's too basic. It's not compelling. So you need to ask your highest self, what is the mission I've been put on this earth to do through this business and through this offer? Okay. Like for me, it's about changing the fucking world. My whole thing is like, I am here to empower the disempowered. Okay. I look out and I see so much wrong with the world and the way everyone thinks. So like, I hate capitalism. I hate work culture in developed nations. I hate poverty. Like, I hate the income gap. Like, I can't stand all of this. Like, all of this really bothers me. And so for me, what my entire business is about is empowering people to make as much money as they want, to unplug from this like false reality that like we can only make money through hustle and struggle. I'm empowering people to like decide that they can make as much money as they want on their own terms. And then with my one-on-one offers, to work with large businesses that are in the business of creating working environments that stymie growth and empowerment in its workers. So like, I'm here to change the dynamic of work culture. And so when I receive the energetic exchange of money, people are welcoming me into their lives so that I can change them, and then they can go out and change others. That's what I'm here for. When I help you guys with your businesses, when you have these massive wins, when I did 20 minutes with Mel and she left and this bitch manifested 2,000 euro and 3 vacations. Okay. When I changed her life, now she's able to bring her Ayurveda consulting to others. Now she's able to do her photography and make people feel beautiful. She touches so many other people. That's what happens. When I empower the people I work with, they go out and they touch the lives of others. Okay. And when I get that money from them, I get to use some of that to alleviate some of the suffering I see. And I work on creating the beautiful and just worlds that I've spent my life dreaming of. And it's really funny. Like, I even had a dream last night. This is a short aside. I had a dream last night that I was dating like a Bruce Wayne. I actually think it's a different timeline now that I think about it. I was dating a Bruce Wayne type who was like, and like, I wasn't some like, you know, corporate CEO lady person. I was just myself. Okay. I was just like, you know, my regular old self. And like, I don't know how we met, but we were dating and in a relationship. And he was starting to talk about marriage with me. And I said to this Bruce Wayne type, I was like, okay, listen, I'll entertain it, but I'm not going to, because he wanted me to like give up my career because I didn't like it. And I said, listen, I'll give up my career, but I'm not going to come stand by your side as your little wifey that you're going to like take to your parties and like trout around as a trophy wife. I said, if I'm going to marry you, you're going to create an entire foundation. Like, you're going to create like, you know, what's the company in Batman? It's like the Wayne family corporation. I don't know. Wayne Enterprises. That's it. Wayne Enterprises. I'm like, you're going to create Wayne Enterprises the foundation. Okay. And you're just going to give me a huge fucking budget. Okay. And I am going to fund social justice programs, and I'm going to create a better, like, you can go play Batman, okay, vigilante of the night, but I'm going to make some real fucking change, and I'm going to stand by your side as an equal. I'm not going to be your little wifey Batman, okay? Yet I'm going to pretend it was an alternate timeline. Anyway, I had this whole conversation in a dream, all right? Because this is who I am, and this is what I'm meant to do. So with that money, like, what I'm doing in this life is I'm using my own money for that. In that timeline, I'm using some Bruce Wayne type who looked like Billy Crudup. So sexy. I'm using like his platform for it. But what I'm able to do is like, it's all about the why, right? It's all about that why. It's about so much deeper than just, I want my kids to live a good life. I want to live in comfort and luxury. So you'll see that like when you deepen into that why, suddenly the money doesn't fucking matter anymore. The money doesn't matter. $10,000 this week doesn't matter, because now your purpose is, I need to touch X number of souls to make this kind of a difference. And I want to do it this week. But when you see how your money can perpetuate this mission in life, that's when your highest self goes, oh my God, that's why we want money. Oh my God, if we have money, we can change the world. We can like take on even more clients. We can hire people to help us take on more clients. And so it's about the lives of the people that you're trying to touch and the impact you're trying to make in the world. So now that goal of like $10,000 in a week becomes, I want to find 2 people who are going to go all in with me in changing their lives. That's what it becomes. It becomes less about like, I'm going to make 10K this week, and it's going to become more, I want 3 people in Practical Magic who are going to totally change their businesses and allow them to change other people's lives. I want to change their lives so they can change others' lives. And the money that comes in supports that world change. So now your intention goes from being like, I'm going to make 10K this week. It goes from just being like, yeah, I want to make 10K to send me the people who need this. Like, send me the people who need my work, who need my presence, who need my talent, who need my bath bombs, if that's it. Like, if you're making bath bombs, like, you know, who are the people who really desperately need that kind of, you know, comfort and nurturing? Send me 5, send me 10, send me 100. Just send them, because they need this and I need to give it to them. So I've been talking for forever at this point. Yeah, we're like over an hour, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. And I see that you guys have all stayed with me during this, and I really appreciate that. Really appreciate it. But this is honestly just the tip of the iceberg. I could talk about this forever. Like, I could easily talk about this for another hour. And there's so much more to discuss, like other activities you can do to clear out these limiting beliefs, like inner child work, EFT or tapping, existential kink, how to develop like rock solid self-worth, rituals about how to go about setting intentions and all of this. I could teach an entire college course on literally just the mindset shift behind the 10K, like 10K in a week. But that's why I created this longer form version of this workshop, which is called Practical Magic. So in it, I teach the principles of magic like this. So that way you understand how to create your own unique manifestation method. So that way you feel like the person who has everything before it even arrives in the physical realm. So while you're having the subjective experience, you can live in peace and trust, knowing that the universe is rearranging reality to bring it to you in the physical. So this program is 12 weeks and it's designed for people who are done with slow growth. Not only are we discussing magic, we actually form a coven for those 3 months, and we do 3 full moon spells. And this is something that I could easily offer in like the 10K plus range, but it's at a special price of $3,444 for pay in full. And I do have 2 payment plans available. All of it's on the website here at the link that's pinned below. And I'm just so excited because the energy of learning and growing and deepening into our authenticity is, I mean, just like we had today. Now imagine like something like today, but we get to have a live conversation and you get the genius of the other people in that program as well. Because I'm selective with who I work with, and I only work with like dope ass powerful people. Like that's it. So it makes these circles really juicy, and it makes the feeling of those spells almost electric. And then on top of that, I bring in 6 guest speakers. 3 of them discuss like hard business principles. 3 of them have different expertise in healing modalities that I don't. For example, we've got Emily Moon, who is a karma clearer, coming to discuss past life traumas with money. And then as far as business people go, we've got someone who's teaching us like financial management as an entrepreneur. I also make sure that half of my experts are always women of color, because that's how it should be, because it's how the world is. And it's honestly, it's perfect for any kind of business owner. We had so many different kinds of entrepreneurs in the last program. We had a food chef, or we had a food artist and chef educator. We had somebody who owned an in-home care services business. We had a couple people who didn't have businesses and were just starting. They were just starting their businesses. And then, yeah, I've worked with VAs, I've worked with coaches, service providers, I've worked with photographers. I will say, like, this is going to be best for people who have a working knowledge of social media. So as long as you know how to use it, we're going to have a Facebook support group, a group chat, and you'll be using an online course system called Teachable to navigate your way through the info. But the good news is that this price includes access to everything, so you don't have to buy anything else. And I will say that I cap enrollment at 10 people. And so that way, like, everybody gets that one-on-one support that they need. And there are no refunds, but the most incredible part of working with me is how quickly things can shift. I always joke that people who invest always make their money back like crazy. I actually had someone make back their entire investment in a week, which is my record so far. That's Jenny Ambrose, who can absolutely attest to that. So, and the people who work with me long-term, like, only continue to see those kind of results. So like I had, like, for example, I worked with Liz Dubois for about a year. In the first month, she replaced her old salary. Within like 3 months of us working together, she was making $20,000 a month. And this year, like, we stopped working together in June of this year. And at that point, she had made $100,000 in her business in cash so far in 2021. So the only catch is that I'm only taking the 10, and I've already got 1 spot spoken for. So I only have 9 seats right now. So this means that, yeah, only 9 open spaces. And if you're ready to jump in, you can follow this link that's pinned below. If you have questions about whether you want to take the leap, like, let's chat. You can get on my calendar, send me a DM, comment below, and I can send you the link to chat with me a bit. So tomorrow we're going to come back together and talk about timeline shifting. So now that we know how our mindset how to like brain hack to like get to that big goal in a week. How can we jump into an entirely new timeline that sets us on the path for the big vision that we have? So if you're somebody who envisions becoming like a Tony Robbins level coach, a Mel Robbins, like, you know, a big name, a big household name, somebody who has books and, you know, conferences and speaking tours, if you're that kind of person, like, you're going to want to come back for tomorrow, because that's where we're getting at in tomorrow. So I want to make sure, does anybody have any questions? And I see that we've got a comment. Mel said, these are the clients that are coming to me these days, motivated, ready, and enthusiastic about investing in themselves and changing their life. Yep. And that shows you the power of what I do with people, because like Mel told me, like Mel and I talked for like 20 minutes, literally. And like, it just completely shifted who was showing up in her energy. And like, it, like, that's the power here. So, but I want to make sure, I know Jamie had asked at the top of the hour, what do you do when you feel like you've been away for a long time and you're just getting into it? And honestly, like, we'll talk about a good amount of that tomorrow, but really like go through that process again today. When you think about like making a big comeback, because that's really what you're looking at now. I've been away for a while. How can I manifest? I know Jamie's like a Beachbody coach. So how can I manifest hitting like that, you know, like selling like, what is it? I think like 3 or 4 people a month. Like, sit down and list out what are those beliefs that immediately come up that tell you why you can't do it, why you can't have it. And like, that's what that's where you need to start first, because that's going to give you the guidance to like where in your brain you need to shift into thinking in abundance. Okay. And like anybody like, and actually I'm going to read out of this book that I had my computer sitting on, because there's a nice little refrain in this book that I really love, that I go back to all the time, because it's just so, it puts you immediately in a place of peace. And so anytime you're just like anytime you're feeling like the pressure of your business, whether it's the pressure to like break your glass ceiling of income, or whether it's to get started again, or whether it's to like make money, period, just say to yourself, I have clothes on my back, food to eat, and a place to stay. Goddess of abundance, come to me, come to me. Sometimes we just need to remember that we're safe in this moment. And a lot of times that can immediately put us into a more relaxed state. Anyway, who's got questions? Anybody else have questions? I know Eleni came in a little bit late. Janet and Alicia and Brooke have all been like involved this whole time. Who's got a question? I want to make sure that I don't sign off until everybody feels really solid. And if you're okay, just say, I'm good, or something like that. Because I see we've still got basically everybody still here. Give it a moment. Aw, so grateful for your energy and advice. You're welcome. I love doing these workshops. They, you know, honestly, I feel amazing when I do them. And I love to, like, I believe in the accessibility of information. So I'm happy to help people. Brooke says, I could literally listen to you all day. LOL, but I'm good. This was awesome. And Janet says, I'm complete. Awesome. All right, my friends. Well, I will see you tomorrow. We're going to talk about timeline shifting, how to jump into your rich bitch timeline. Okay. So thank you again for your time today. Don't forget to check out the details on Practical Magic, a 12-week program for reshaping reality, changing your business, and up-leveling your entire life. That link is pinned below on this video. See you tomorrow. Have a good one, friends. Bye.